Boo Carter returned to the Tennessee practice field on Tuesday morning. Is all forgiven? Is everything ready to roll for Tennessee's playmaking returner and defensive back? We'll discuss. It's your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your morning, for your first listen in the mornings, your first watch, a part of your morning routine. And of course, we're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at Monarch Money, where you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. A big thanks to our friends over at Monarch Money. Today's episode, practice tidbits from, or notes, I guess, from practice number 5, Tennessee and fall camp. Boo Carter returns. Who was on the field, who was off the field due to injury. What did the passing game look like? A much better day on Tuesday morning, in my opinion, for the Tennessee quarterbacks and wide receivers. That's coming up here in segment number 1. Josh Ward going to stop by for his Ward Wednesday hit in segment number 2. Tennessee's opponents in the coaches poll. Tennessee's opponents that they're going to play that were ranked in the coaches poll. Of course, Tennessee was ranked at number 18 when the coaches poll came out earlier this week. And Diego Pavia sounds off of Netflix's new little series they did, and quoted saying a couple of interesting things ahead of the Tennessee football game last November. All that coming up on today's show. So let's get down into it. This is fall camp practice number 5 that took place yesterday morning. Fall camp practice number 6 is going to take place this morning. Maybe, while you're listening to this, or maybe later on this morning, or maybe it's already happened. But the big takeaway from Tuesday morning out on the practice field was Boo Carter was out there on the practice field. Boo Carter had been stretching. He had been wearing a helmet, but stretching and not really doing anything else the first 4 practices of fall camp, which encompassed the first week of fall camp. And whenever the practice actually started, he would go off to the side and be working with a staffer, go into the weight room, or go outside and do some personal running, or whatever the case was. He wasn't practicing with his team. And this goes back to last Tuesday's media day when Josh Heupel said he's still on the team, he's still on the roster, but he's got to do some things in order to get back on the field with his teammates. And it looks like, the first week of training camp, 4 practices was what he was talking about. I would assume that if Boo's good and he doesn't miss anything or get in trouble or anything, then he'll continue practicing. What does this mean for game number 1 against Syracuse? I don't know. We'll ask that question later on. But the important thing is the key thing is here that Boo Carter is back on the practice field. And obviously that's big for Tennessee because Boo Carter is one of your best players. You want your best players on the team. You want your best players to be involved in kind of what you got going on right here. And Boo Carter hasn't been the last week, but since Tuesday morning, he was back on the practice field. So that is good. Now, again, leadership council, earning his teammates' trust back. I don't know. I don't know if he's gone in front of the team and they've all forgiven him. Whether that's going to take a couple of weeks, I would assume that's going to take a little while to earn back that trust for reportedly missing some events in July and some workouts and all that. But the important thing is Boo Carter is back on the practice field. So what did that mean? Well, while the media was present, and again, will always remind you guys, we're there for just a couple of minutes. We don't see an awful lot, and there's so much more that goes on at practice that we don't see, that we can't report on because we're not there. But while the media was there, Boo Carter was back at his star position. Jalen McMurray, who's been repping at the star position the first week in fall camp, went back to cornerback, which is, where he played for Tennessee last year. He was the number 3 cornerback behind Ricky Gibson and Jamal McCoy. And one interesting note, again, while we were there, certainly could have showed his face while, at some point, after the media was present. But while we were there, we didn't see Ricky Gibson. Ricky Gibson went to practice while the media was present. So Jalen McMurray was over there, practicing cornerback along with Colton Hood for Tennessee's, starting corners, during the individual period. And, of course, Jamal McCoy is still sidelined recovering from, a torn ACL. So Boo Carter comes back, frees up Jalen McMurray to go play cornerback, and we'll see if Ricky Gibson's on the practice field tomorrow. But first and foremost, the biggest takeaway from Tuesday's practice was Boo Carter was back on the practice field. So I mentioned there was no Ricky Gibson, at least while the media was present. While the media was present, Joshua Joseph still wasn't out there. That was his 3rd straight day that he wasn't practicing. Mike Matthews did return. He was out there doing some things, an individual, while the media was there. I'm not sure how much Mike Matthews did overall on the day, of course, again, because we're not there. But Mike Matthews was returning to practice, and he was practicing yesterday, so that was big. He did not practice on Sunday. But Braylon Staley did not practice on Tuesday morning. And so you get one back, you lose another. And, of course, Chris Brazzell still not practice, and, he's expected back sometime this week. And I think for the most part, again, football's a contact sport. Nobody's ever going to stay healthy the entire season. It just kind of is what it is. It's the sport of football. But I think in fall camp, especially with guys that you're going to be counting on, especially guys who have proven it already, you're going to be extra careful. You're going to treat all these little bumps and bruises with precaution. Now, everybody needs to get out there and get physically ready for the season. Don't mishear me here, but for the most part, you're not going to take any chances in fall camp for a guy like Ricky Gibson or for a guy like Mike Matthews or Chris Brazzell or somebody like Joshua Josephs. But hopefully those guys will return to the practice field here soon for sure. One other note, again, we'll do routes on air, and on Monday's show, I kind of talked about Saturday and Sunday's routes on air period, why you shouldn't overreact to it because it's not real football. But having said all that, it wasn't the cleanest. It wasn't the sharpest. It didn't look that good over the weekend. Well, Monday's routes on air looked really good. They were throwing from the 10-yard line in, going into the end zone, and I thought that was the best period of practice we've seen so far. I thought the quarterbacks were solid. I thought the receivers were much better. There were no drops that I saw. Now, there were some balls that, maybe the receivers could have caught, not perfectly placed footballs, but, that were incompletions. But overall, I thought, that the operation was much better. I thought the receivers looked better. I thought the quarterbacks looked good. So I thought it was a really good period, no doubt. I thought it was a really, really good period. Again, they did some things with motion, motioning the slot receiver behind the quarterback, throwing out to the slot to the near pylon, throwing some back pylon fades, throwing some squirrel routes, stuff like that. Desan Brame had another really, really good catch. Ball that was thrown a little high, went up there, made a high catch in the back of the end zone. You had Amari Jefferson who flashed, right? And to this point, Tennessee's lone transfer portal addition at wide receiver, Amari Jefferson, who went to Baylor and Chattanooga, who signed to play for Nick Saban in Alabama, had a hip injury, redshirted last year, didn't play, or didn't see the field, and then, of course, transferred back home to Tennessee over this offseason. He's been a non-factor, essentially. I hadn't seen him flash, hadn't heard a whole lot about Amari Jefferson so far in fall camp, and I thought he looked really good. Again, Braylon Staley wasn't practicing, so Amari Jefferson got some more run, no pun intended, in the slot position, and I thought he looked really good. Made one nice one-handed catch at the short of the pylon, made another nice catch as well. That's good. That's encouraging. I'm not saying that he's arrived. I'm not saying he's you're going to be a starter and be all SEC now, but it was good to see Amari Jefferson flash a little bit. For a position group that's starving for some depth, for some people to step up and be counted on. I thought that was a really, really good morning there for Amari Jefferson. So I was very pleased. I was very pleased with the Tennessee operation and routes on air, 10-yard line going into the end zone on a Tuesday morning. So we'll see if they can, as Brent Hubbs would say, stack days. Let's see what tomorrow looks like. And again, that's why you never overreact to routes on air. Just like over the weekend when I didn't think it was clean and very succinct or anything, let's not overreact to it being a good period today. It's not real football. But it is something to kind of go on a little bit at least. At the secondary positions, at the safety position specifically, it continues to be Andre Turrentine, Idris Farouk, Caleb Beasley rotating in at safety. He's going to be a part of that rotation. He was getting some praise from Tim Banks during individual the other day. The offensive line is going to be interesting to me. And, we've talked about it, wrote about it. Glenn Ellerby, he met with the media on Tuesday, and they're legit giving Sam Pendleton every opportunity to be the center. I think Tennessee's made it kind of clear, and we'll talk with Josh Ward about this in segment number 2, that they believe the best 5, at least that's what it feels like right now, they believe the best 5 might be Pendleton at center and then opening one of those guard spots up for either Jesse Perry or Sham Umarov. So I'm very interested and excited to see how this all unfolds. Can Sam Pendleton lock down the center position? Will it be William Satterwhite? If it's William Satterwhite, Sam Pendleton will play guard. If it's Sam Pendleton at center, it'll be either Sham Umarov or Jesse Perry at one of the guard spots opposite of Wendell Moy, the transfer from Arizona. A lot of good things that Glenn Ellerby say about Lance Hurd, about how he's lost some weight and shape, taken a step in the offense. David Sanders, how he's put on some weight. weight, how he's been in the film room, studying, being a sponge, and how he's attacked every single day the right way. It sounds like the offensive line's, I'm super excited about this offensive line. I really am. I think it has the potential to be pretty good. Young, inexperienced at points, for sure, but I think this offensive line could be pretty good. So those are some notes from Tuesday morning's practice about 24 hours ago. And, good day for the offense, at least while the media was present. We'll be interested to see if anybody else is back on the practice field tomorrow, kind of what routes on air looks like and all that. And, of course, we'll talk about it right here on tomorrow's Locked On Vols. So Tennessee football fall camp continues. It was another Shells practice on Tuesday. I would wholeheartedly expect them to be in full pads coming up later this morning when Tennessee hits the practice field for practice number 6 on a Wednesday morning. I expect it to be a full padded practice, which would be the first of the fall slate. Hey, when we come back, we will check in with Josh Ward for our Ward Wednesday segment like we do each and every Wednesday right here on Locked On Vols. That is coming up next as we continue right here on your Wednesday morning Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning for a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just like another budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're truly building wealth. I love Monarch because it's all in front of me, right? I've got subscriptions coming out of this bank account. I've got mortgage coming out of this bank account, retirement out of this bank account. And for me, I get paid from this job and this bank account, this job and this. I mean, it's all right in front of me. It helps me keep track easily, and I know just how much money I have and how much money I can spend and how much money I need to save. Monarch helps me manage all of that, right? And it helps me. I think it can help you as well. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use promo code LockedOnCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. Promo code LockedOnCollege for half off your first year. Give a shout out. Give Monarch Money a try at monarchmoney.com. Josh Ward, we're officially 1 week into fall camp, a little over 1 week into fall camp. Some of the big takeaways that you have, maybe, again, I know there's not a whole lot of takeaways so far, but there's going to be a lot this week as full pads come on, scrimmage up on Saturday. But what have you liked? What have you disliked so far through the first 5 practices of fall camp?
Well, there are reasons to be excited about the defense, which we knew through the offseason. But when you look at guys who have either emerged, like an Edwin Spillman, some excitement about what he could potentially do at linebacker, or Boo Carter gets back out there on the practice field, and that helps take a step forward to him being able to help Tennessee's football team this fall. And that can remain in the to be determined category. But obviously him being out there on the practice field is a good step for him there. And I think somebody like Colton Hood coming in, who is needed to help provide depth, and I think could be a difference maker as they wait for Jermod McCoy to come back. Those type things help certify that this could be a really good defense. On offense, there are reasons to be optimistic. The running back room, what the offensive line could be as a group. It's just that the offense has questions that will remain questions. Quarterback is obvious. So I think you and I and everyone will be intrigued to see what comes out of the first scrimmage, how things develop over the next couple of weeks, the battle at the center position. All of those things will really matter when the season kicks off on August 30th.
Yeah, and it certainly doesn't help the first couple of practices when you only have 7 scholarship receivers and you're down a couple, and you get one back on I guess it was, you get one back on Tuesday, and then there's another one out. Chris Brasley, who's your top returner, hasn't even practiced yet. So already thin at wide receiver, haven't been full strength there. I mean, that group needs to be on the practice field as much as possible. Obviously, everybody wants to talk about the quarterback competition, but so far through the first week, and that's going to change with full padded practices and the scrimmage coming up, but so far, the biggest storyline for me has been the wide receivers and the conversation at center, which is a real conversation between Sam Pendleton and William Satterwhite.
Yeah, for sure. And at wide receiver, it's probably a reminder they need to stay healthy this season. You can say that about any position group, but some positions will be better at dealing with injury if those issues come than others. And right now, it's so young, it's so inexperienced as a group. Chris Bradshaw is a player that is the most experienced, but he needs to be better this year than he was a year ago. Everybody's going to agree with that, and he's missing time with his new quarterback or quarterbacks, however that plays out when the season kicks off on August 30th. So yeah, that just remains a big question. There's still an avenue to the passing attack being strong, the wide receivers having a big year, Mike Matthews breaking out this season. They just have to go prove it, and obviously they have to be available. They have to be consistent. All those things that matter when you're trying to win in the SEC.
When you look at that center position, Sam Pendleton's a guy that's going to start somewhere. I mean, it's either guard or center, but he's getting a legit shot to be that center. And I think it's fairly obvious at this point, Josh, and I mean, no disrespect to William Satterwhite. There's a long way to go in camp, okay? And he was the first team center throughout all of spring. But I think it's fairly obvious they're trying to toy with getting the best five out there, and they believe that best five is probably with Pendleton at center. So if Pendleton can win that job, that opens up the door for Shami Marov and or Jesse Perry to go along with Wendell Moy, and then, of course, the tackles, Lance Hurd and David Sanders. I keep saying this. We're going to learn a lot more this week with the scrimmage coming up and everything. But, Sam Pendleton, if he can win it, that's what they're going to try to do is have him at center. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think that he could be a safe bet right now with Glenn Ellerby talking about William Satterwhite. If he's not all the way where they want him to be physically, and if there are issues with snaps, getting that converted from the center position to the quarterback, it's as obvious of a statement as you can make, but you have to get that snap down, and you can't have issues there. And I think that was a concern coming out of the spring. If it's still a concern approaching the season opener, then you've got to go with the guy that you trust at the center position. That could end up being Pendleton. If it's Pendleton, that means you have a little less experience at right guard next to a true freshman at right tackle, which could potentially be a concern, but it starts at center, and it's about getting the best five guys out there. And by the way, I think that's a positive. Sanders, the improvement he was able to make, the weight he was able to gain over the last few months to get his strength levels up for what he's about to face in the SEC. And then Glenn Ellerby also praising Sanders for the time that he put in to try to mentally prepare for what he's about to take on as the unquestioned starter at right tackle. So that's a group that still has to prove what it can be. Individually, when you go player by player, there are reasons to be optimistic. How they play as a unit is something to be determined. But again, potential is there for this offensive line. And really, I should say both tackles. I think Lance Hurd and David Sanders Jr. would be counted on the positive side of things to start camp.
Yeah, I think potentially, say Pendleton wins the center job, and then it obviously, who's going to be the guard? If Jesse Perry wins the job, or if Shami Morrow wins the job, I think that might dictate where Wendell Moy is potentially. So I don't think Wendell Moy is just locked in at left guard. I think it just kind of depends on how. Again, it all goes back to center. Center kind of dictates all five,
yeah.
And so that's going to be a fun storyline to follow the next couple of weeks. Tight end position, I've been talking about a ton. I think tight end position is obviously the best part of camp so far. I'm intrigued to see how Deshaun Brame adjusts to the physicality of it and all, but he looks like $1 million. Jack Van Dorselaer continues to look good. I think Miles Kitson and Ethan Davis are playing well. I think the tight end position where, so many questions at wide receiver and there's not been guys on the practice field and it's kind of been a letdown so far maybe. The tight end position room looks like an absolute strength for this team. I mean, they could potentially enter the season with 4 guys that they like. I mean, that's some serious depth right there. And Josh, maybe they can find unique ways to use all those guys if you are injured at wide receiver.
Yeah, they probably need to. I think the obvious thought would be what Princeton Fant did, and I don't know that they're going to have somebody in as versatile of a role as what he played a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. But Ethan Davis is a guy we've talked about for the last 2 seasons in terms of his potential as an athlete and as a pass catcher, and he's got that opportunity. And then this freshman group that comes in, they look the part, and I think there are several guys that look the part physically. That's the case there at tight end. So if they deal with injury at wide receiver, or there's a lack of trust, a lack of consistency, and at the tight end position, the Tennessee coaching staff sees it, then give those guys an opportunity. Nobody's earned anything, really, when we talk about the wide receivers, the tight ends, besides Miles Kitselman and maybe Ethan Davis, but I think that would be more just progression over the last couple of years. So when we talk about Travis Smith Jr. and an opportunity he might get, Rodarius Jackson and a chance he might get, more so than we've seen the last 4 years, I think, for freshmen at wide receiver under Josh Heupel. I think the same should apply to their freshman tight ends who could help this passing attack too.
Josh, as we move into week number 2, again, scrimmages coming up. Hopefully there'll be some separation. What are you hoping to hear or see out of Tennessee camp? What step are you hoping to see in week 2 from this player or this certain position group? And obviously, let's not bury the lead here. We hope that there's some separation at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you would start. You want somebody to kind of take command there and establish himself in that position where over the next couple of weeks it begins to talk the talk begins to be about getting that guy ready for the opener. And by that Monday of game week, there is no question of who the guy is. It's been announced and Tennessee's ready to move forward in that position. They don't want to get into the season where a quarterback battle continues and you go back and forth. That's not what this Tennessee offense needs with so much youth around it. But I would say on the offensive side, plays being made either in the passing game or just from the skill position, because the running backs can have success in this offense too. But plays being made and a lack of mistakes from those guys as they're trying to prove what they can do. The defense is going to make plays. I don't really have much question about that. Although a question for the defense this season will be, can they get to the quarterback and bring the quarterback down more often? It's not all about sacks, but that's part of it. They took a step back last year from where the defense was 2 years ago, and it was a very good defense last year. So if they can be better at getting to the quarterback, this defense has a chance to be even better this season. But I think a lot of the questions remain on the offensive side. Can they make plays? Can they limit mistakes? And can they protect up front?
Yeah, best defense of the Josh Heupel era under Tim Banks was last year, yet it was the fewest sacks, only 29 sacks, the fewest in 4 years. 2023 was actually the most sacks of 41, and then I think they finished at 31 in 2021 and 34 in 2022. So great defense. I'm expecting that again, but also to your point, get after it. Not just get after it, bring down the quarterback to make it 3rd and long. And we'll see what happens there. Josh, a lot going on Tennessee fall camp. What do you and VFL Jason Swain have coming up on Josh and Swain weekdays noon to 3 on The Sports Animal?
Yeah, all kinds of football, mainly on the field. Recruiting continues to be part of the conversation, and that is part of the focus for the staff. But right now it's about these position battles we've been talking about. Swain has preached the consistency and the accountability. And if somebody makes a mistake, that everybody needs to be held accountable for it, because one player's mistake affects the entire team. So we're talking camp, we're talking battles, we're talking about the quarterback position every single day, Monday through Friday, 12 to 3.
Josh, as always, man, thanks so much.
Thanks, Eric.
As always, appreciate Josh Ward for hopping on for our Ward Wednesday segment every single Wednesday right here on Locked On Vols. Josh Ward, the co-host of Josh and Swain with VFL Jason Swain on 99.1 The Sports Animal, noon to 3 every single weekday on your radio dial. All right, so Tennessee was ranked number 18 in the country per the LBM coaches poll, the first one that was released on Monday. I think that's about right. Joel Klatt and some other Big Ten homers didn't have Tennessee ranked in some of their preseason picks. Brett McMurphy had Tennessee 19th, I believe. The coaches poll has Tennessee 18th. We'll see where the media, which I'm sure the media is going to have Tennessee a lot closer to 25 or maybe even out of the top 25. But I think 18 is about right. I think certainly closer to 25 than 10. I think all that's fair. So the coaches preseason ranked Tennessee at number 18. And it's interesting because when you look at Tennessee, or you look at the SEC altogether, and you look at who plays who and how many ranked opponents according to the coaches' rankings, Tennessee's one of 3 teams that play the fewest in the conference. Most games against coaches poll in the top 25. Mississippi State, Florida, and Oklahoma have 7 of those teams on their schedule. Tennessee, Missouri, and Auburn only have 3. So again, if you want to be in the college football playoff conversation, you've got to have a big-time signature win. Alabama, Georgia, for sure. Oklahoma at home, probably. Maybe Florida on the road. Got to have that signature win. But the schedule lines up. Everybody, this doom and gloom about Tennessee losing Nico or losing Dylan Sampson and all that, losing James Pierce. The schedule lines up. And it's not something to brag about, certainly, because, Tennessee's schedule, anytime you have Georgia and Alabama and Florida on your schedule, I'm never going to say that's an easy schedule, because it's not. But same with Georgia. Georgia's got Alabama and Texas on their schedule, but Georgia's schedule is not as bad as it could be. And that's the same for Tennessee, right? So handle business, and you can at least get to 9 wins in the regular season at minimum, in my opinion. Because, again, the schedule lines up. But Tennessee's opponents inside the coaches poll, that were ranked inside the top 25. Georgia comes in at number 4, and of course that game is week 3, September the 13th, and we took a look at Georgia on the Scouting the Opponent series on yesterday's show. Of course, that game is going to be on ABC, 3:30 in the afternoon. So Tennessee plays Georgia, number 4 in the coaches poll. Tennessee will play Alabama, which is at number 8. That's a flex window. It's either going to be afternoon or evening or night. That's going to be the third Saturday in October, of course, October the 18th. And then Tennessee will play Florida, which is at number 17 in the coaches poll. And it's weird. Tennessee's playing Florida, I believe, for only the third time ever in the series history in the month of November. They played, or maybe it's the first time in November. They played one game in December, obviously, the 2001 season. But nonetheless, November. I had all these notes whenever the schedule came out months ago. Florida coming in at number 17. Tennessee plays Florida November the 22nd, and of course that's in the flex window as well. We don't have an exact time on when that will happen. Tennessee will head to Gainesville. Oh, here it is. Tennessee will head to Gainesville in November for the first time in program history on the 22nd at Ben Hill Griffith Stadium. 2020 game, December the 5th. All those days right in front of my face. That was December the 5th in Knoxville, and then the COVID-altered season in 2020 as well. That game was December the 1st. Actually, it was December the 5th in 2020. It was December the 1st in 2001. So first time Tennessee will play the Gators in the month of December in Gainesville. That's coming up later this season. So other teams that Tennessee will play that are receiving votes in the coaches poll: Oklahoma received 221 votes. Syracuse received 16 votes, and I'm not really sure why. Arkansas received 14 votes. And then Vanderbilt, of course, got some chuckles there and got 3 votes to be inside the top 25. Albeit, jokes aside, Vanderbilt at least has an identity. Vanderbilt's got a couple good players, and Vanderbilt's got a quarterback. And speaking of Vanderbilt, as we transition to a new topic here, Netflix. Okay, I can't wait to watch it. At the time of this recording, I'm gonna finish recording. I'm going to edit. Going to go see the wife and the kid, and then I can't wait to tonight. I'm gonna turn on the new series that they have, and the new documentary series, Any Given Saturday. Let's see what it's called. Netflix SEC series. Let's see here. Yeah. Netflix documentary was released on August the 5th, so it was yesterday. And already some people that have gone in and watched these episodes and checked out all the episodes that are out there. I think it's a 7-episode arc, I believe. But SEC football, Any Given Saturday, the Netflix series. Okay, that's what it is. And they follow a lot of these teams throughout the season. And we saw Netflix personnel on the sidelines a lot last year. We saw them at practice a couple different times. So Tennessee was obviously one of the 16 teams that opted in. I think there were only like 3 or 4 teams in the SEC that didn't want to be a part of this, and I don't really know why. I mean, I understand coaches don't want that, but from a administrative standpoint, it's a whole lot of money, so you knew Tennessee was going to be a part of it. But in conversations and in interviews or in huddles at practice and all that, Netflix got up close and personal to that of Vanderbilt leading into the Tennessee game, and it was quarterback Diego Pavia that had an eye-opening statement that was caught on camera, obviously, in this documentary, and before the Tennessee Vanderbilt game last November. It said, quote, "We can beat Tennessee literally any given Saturday. They think they're going to destroy us. Bad word, every single one of them dudes, we're going to win this game at all cost." One more time. We can beat Tennessee literally any given Saturday. They think they're going to destroy us. Bad word, which I'm not going to say, a very bad word. It's a 4-letter word. You can use your imaginations. Bad word, every single one of them dudes, we're going to win this game at all costs. Again, those were remarks actually in an interview. I haven't watched it yet. I can't wait to go watch it. I'm just kind of reacting to some of the reports out here on a Tuesday evening. It was in an interview during, of course, the documentary Any Given Sunday, the SEC football series on Netflix. And actually, it was Clark Lee, Vanderbilt's head coach as well, that had some remarks to Tennessee. And I have no issue with this one. Quote, "I want to blank beat Tennessee. I need everyone to be on the same page. We're not leaving the stadium on Saturday without a win." I have no issue with that. That's a coach trying to motivate his team. That's no big deal. I have no issue with what Diego Pavia said. Hey, love confidence. Great. Again, if you're not a Tennessee fan, you love the story of Diego Pavia. You love the story. And right now, Tennessee has the last laugh because Tennessee made Diego Pavia a complete non-factor in a game that Tennessee had to win to punch its ticket to the college football playoff on the road. It was a home game for Tennessee, as it always is in the mid-state of Vanderbilt. Tennessee absolutely smacked Vanderbilt after going down 14-0 getting off the bus. Tennessee regrouped, got to work, won that football game, and punches tickets to the CFP. So I have no issue with any of this. I love it. Football's so back. I mean, we had Blurgate over the weekend, right? We had Blurgate. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check Tennessee's social media clips from over the weekend. I mean, we are so back. College football is back, and I love these comments from Diego Pavia. But don't get me wrong, these comments will be bulletin board material, no doubt about it, before Tennessee and Vanderbilt conclude the regular season in late November this year. Sure, they were talking about last year's game, no doubt. But those comments are going to be up on the bulletin board, and Tennessee is going to be using it even if Tennessee needs any more motivation to A, play a football game, B, play against a rival, and C, play against a quarterback like Diego Pavia because he's a good one. But I just kind of thought this was interesting. So I cannot wait to check out SEC football any given Saturday. The Netflix series documentary will maybe do a watch and tell here on Locked On Vols. Tennessee's going to be a part of it. So I can't wait to see how much Tennessee's a part of it and more juicy details, more juicy tidbits and juicy quotes that come out from Tennessee's opponents and maybe on Tennessee's side as well. Really, really looking forward to that. All right. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. You guys know we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Fall camp's happening right now. We're into week 2. Full pads are coming on. Scrimmage on Saturday. Hopefully there's some separation in the quarterback battle and the offensive line battle. Wide receivers, hopefully those guys practice and play. Can't wait. Got a lot of stuff to get to this week. And tell your friends, tell your family members, this is the time to link up with Locked On Vols. We're going to keep you up to date, keep you informed, and keep you entertained each and every weekday morning. Appreciate you guys, everydayers. Thanks so much. New to the show, please come back tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.